The Digital Predators of Manila, a true crime story. Welcome to Crime Stories PH. Today we bring you a shocking true crime story about cybercrime in the Philippines that targeted thousands of overseas Filipino workers. If you're new to the channel, we cover the most compelling crime stories from around the Philippines. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to catch all our latest true crime stories. It started with a simple Facebook message. Ma'am, your Western Union transfer of $2,500 has been blocked due to security concerns. Please click here to verify your identity. Maria Santos, a 45-year-old domestic helper in Singapore, had been sending money to her family in Batangas every month for the past decade. The message looked legitimate. It had Western Union's logo, proper formatting, and even a case ID number. What she didn't know was that this message would connect her to one of the largest cybercrime operations ever uncovered in Philippine history. Chapter 1. The Perfect Storm. NBI Cybercrime Division Chief Ricardo Dizon stared at his computer screen, his coffee growing cold beside him. It was 2 a.m. in the Manila office, but the complaints wouldn't stop flooding in. In the past week alone, over 200 overseas Filipino workers had reported losing their remittances to what appeared to be an elaborate phishing scheme. Sir, another case from Hong Kong called out Agent Sarah Cruz, his newest team member. Fresh from training and eager to prove herself, Sarah had been tracking these incidents since they first appeared 3 months ago. Same pattern. They're targeting OFWs, using Western Union and bank templates, and the money always disappears through a series of local bank accounts before we can trace it. Dizon rubbed his tired eyes. After 20 years in law enforcement, 15 of them dealing with traditional crimes before moving to cybercrime, he'd never seen anything quite like this. The sophistication of the operation suggested someone with intimate knowledge of banking systems. The perpetrators weren't just sending random phishing emails. They knew exactly when OFWs typically sent money home. They had accurate details about transfer amounts and dates. They even knew which banks their victims used. This wasn't the work of ordinary scammers. Pull up the bank accounts again, Dizon instructed. There has to be a pattern we're missing. Sarah projected her screen onto the office's main display. Dozens of bank account numbers scrolled past, all opened within the last 6 months, all with different names but similar patterns. Look at this, Sarah pointed. All these accounts. They were open in branches within a 5-kilometer radius in Makati. And the account opening dates? She paused, pulling up another spreadsheet. They coincide with the layoffs at United Global Bank last year. Dizon sat up straighter. United Global Bank had let go of nearly 200 employees during the pandemic, many from their IT and customer service departments. People with access to systems, procedures, and most importantly, customer data. Cross-reference the laid-off employees with our account holders, he ordered. Sarah's fingers flew across the keyboard. The algorithm ran for several minutes before results started appearing. 3 matches popped up immediately. So look at this. James Rivera, former IT security specialist. Maria Elena Pascual, customer data analyst. And Sarah's voice trailed off. And who? Vincent Torres. He was the head of Western Union operations for the bank's remittance division. Dizon felt a chill run down his spine. Torres had been one of the most respected names in banking security. He'd even given lectures on preventing remittance fraud. If he was involved, the investigation revealed that Torres had purchased a new condo in BGC 3 months ago, far beyond what his severance package should have allowed. His social media showed recent vacations in Boracay and Sea Argo, always paying in cash. But most importantly, he was still in contact with several current bank employees. Sir, Judge Santos approved the warrants, Sarah announced. And there's something else. Torres just booked a flight to Singapore. He leaves tomorrow morning. Dizon checked his watch. 3:30 a.m. They had less than 5 hours before Torres could potentially flee the country. "Get the airport team ready," he ordered, "and contact Singapore authorities. If he makes it there, we'll lose him." He turned to his team, now fully awake despite the hour. "We move now. Sarah, you're with me. The rest of you, coordinate with local police. I want eyes on every possible exit route from his condo." As they geared up, Dizon couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the tip of the iceberg. Their analysis suggested the group had stolen over 50 million pesos in just 3 months. But more than the money, they'd stolen something even more valuable: the trust of hard-working Filipinos abroad who just wanted to provide for their families. The Manila skyline was just beginning to lighten as their convoy moved through the empty streets. In his earpiece, Dizon could hear the tactical teams getting into position around Torres's building. Sarah sat beside him, monitoring real-time surveillance feeds on her laptop. "Sir," she said suddenly, movement in the lobby. "It's Torres. He's early." Dizon watched the grainy security footage as Vincent Torres, dressed in a crisp business suit despite the early hour, walked confidently through his building's lobby. He carried only a small briefcase. "All units move in," Dizon commanded. "Subject is in the lobby. Do not let him reach his vehicle." The next few minutes were chaos. Torres spotted the approaching officers and ran back into the building. But the NYI team had already secured all exits. When they finally cornered him in the emergency stairwell, Torres didn't resist. He simply smiled and said, "You have no idea how big this really is." In his briefcase, they found 5 laptops, each containing customer data from different banks. But as Dizon would soon discover, Torres wasn't the mastermind they thought he was. He was just one piece of a much larger operation, one that stretched far beyond the Philippines. As the sun rose over Manila, Dizon watched Torres being led to a police car. Sarah stood beside him, already documenting the evidence. "Good work," he told her. "But this is just the beginning." She nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "Sir, what about the OFWs? All those people who lost their money?" Dizon looked at the growing crowd of reporters gathering outside the police cordon. "First, we follow the money. Then we follow the data. Somewhere in all this, there's a trail that will lead us to everyone involved." He turned to her. "Ready for Chapter 2? Stay tuned for Chapter 2 of this shocking true crime story, where we'll reveal the full extent of this cybercrime operation and how it was finally brought down. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Crime Stories PH for more true crime stories from the Philippines." Chapter 2: The Spider's Web. The interrogation room at the NYI Cybercrime Division was small, but Vincent Torres seemed to fill it with his presence. Even in handcuffs, he maintained the same confident smile he'd worn during his arrest. "You know what's funny?" Torres said, looking directly at Dizon. "Everything we did was possible because people trust their banks too much." Sarah, who sat quietly in the corner taking notes, watched as Dizon remained silent, letting Torres talk. "But I'm just a small part of this," Torres continued. "The real question is, who has access to the OFW database? Who knows exactly when and where every overseas worker sends their money?" Dizon leaned forward. "We found the laptops, Vincent. We have the account numbers. It's over." Torres laughed. "You found exactly what we wanted you to find. Did you really think we'd keep the real operation on laptops?" Before Dizon could respond, Sarah's phone buzzed. She stepped outside to take the call, returning moments later with urgent news. "Sir, we have a problem. Someone's accessing the evidence laptops remotely. They're wiping everything." Dizon rushed to the digital forensics lab. On multiple screens, files were deleting themselves at an impossible speed. Their tech team worked frantically to stop the process, but it was too late. Someone with high-level access had triggered a kill switch. "Sir," one of the tech analysts called out. "Before everything was deleted, I managed to trace the remote access. It came from inside United Global Bank's main server room. Dizon's mind raced. Torres was here, but someone inside the bank was still operating. Someone with even higher access than a former IT security specialist. Sarah, give me the bank's current employee list. Focus on the IT department heads who weren't laid off. The answer came within hours. Marcus Chun, the bank's chief technology officer, had authorized system upgrades on all the dates when major phishing attacks occurred. He had also approved the layoffs of Torres and his team. He used the layoffs as cover, Sarah realized. He kept the loyal employees and got rid of anyone who might notice what he was doing. But when they arrived at Chin's office with a warrant, they found it empty. His secretary reported he'd left for an emergency board meeting. At the bank's conference room, the board members looked confused. There was no meeting scheduled. Check the airport, Dizon ordered, and freeze all his accounts. But Chin was smarter than that. They found his car in the airport parking lot, but security footage showed him entering the mall next door, changing his clothes, and leaving in a different vehicle. For 3 days, they chased leads across Manila. Chin had prepared well: multiple safe houses, fake IDs, and a network of paid informants keeping him one step ahead. The break came from an unexpected source. Maria Santos, the OFW from Singapore who'd received the first phishing message, called the NEI hotline. The scammers, she said, they're trying again. But this time, they made a mistake. The new phishing email came from a computer at the Peninsula Hotel. Dizon's team moved fast. They found Chun in the hotel's business center, calmly drinking coffee while setting up his next operation. Unlike Torres, he ran. The chase led through the hotel kitchen, past startled guests, and onto the fire escape. On the roof, with nowhere left to run, Chun finally showed emotion. "You don't understand," he shouted over the wind. "The whole banking system is a scam. We just exposed how vulnerable it really is." When they arrested him, they found something unexpected in his pocket: a phone with direct lines to banking officials in multiple countries. The operation wasn't just targeting Filipino workers. It was a test run for something bigger. In Chin's hotel room, they discovered the true scale of the operation. He had built a shadow banking network, using the stolen OFW money to create cryptocurrency accounts. The phishing scheme was just phase 1. Phase 2 would have targeted major banks across Southeast Asia. But there was one more surprise waiting. As they dug deeper into Chin's records, they found regular payments to someone high up in the Banking Regulatory Commission. The very people supposed to prevent these crimes were helping to commit them. The investigation eventually led to arrests at 3 banks, 2 government offices, and multiple overseas contacts. The total amount stolen reached nearly 100 million pesos. But more importantly, they discovered critical weaknesses in banking security that could have cost billions if Chin's larger plan had succeeded. 1 month later, Dizon stood before a room of reporters. Behind him, a screen showed photos of all 37 people arrested in what the media now called the Great Banking Heist. Today, he announced, "We've done more than just catch criminals. We've exposed the vulnerabilities that put hardworking overseas Filipinos at risk. New security measures are being implemented. The money is being returned to its rightful owners." Sarah, now promoted to lead digital investigator, added, "But the real heroes are the victims who came forward. People like Maria Santos, who refused to stay silent." In his cell, Vincent Torres watched the news conference on TV. His confident smile was finally gone. Meanwhile, in Singapore, Maria Santos made her monthly money transfer, this time through a new, more secure system created in response to the case. As Dizon left the press conference, a reporter asked him how they'd finally caught everyone involved. He thought for a moment before answering. In the digital age, criminals think technology makes them invisible. But at the end of the day, it's still human nature that brings them down. Greed leaves a trail, no matter how many computers you hide it behind. Thank you for watching this shocking true crime story about the biggest cybercrime bust in Philippine history. If you want to protect yourself from similar scams, remember, legitimate banks will never ask for your information through social media or email. Always verify directly with your bank. If you enjoyed this crime story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Crime Stories PH. Hit the notification bell to stay updated with more true crime stories from around the Philippines. Help us spread awareness by sharing this video with your friends and family, especially those working overseas. Have you or someone you know been a victim of cybercrime? Share your story in the comments below. Remember, speaking up can help prevent others from becoming victims. Join us next week for another gripping episode of Crime Stories PH, where we explore more real criminal cases that shaped our nation's history. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, knowledge is your best defense against crime. This has been Crime Stories PH, bringing you the truth behind the Philippines' most shocking crimes.